Ryan Heger, Ray William Johnson, Freddie Wong and Brandon Larch, Wong Fu Productions, Charlie Is So Cool Like, Michelle Pham, David Choi, Clara C. Not real celebrities. Are they? I mean, they put out original content, they're entertaining, I watch them, you watch them, but I mean, it's YouTube, right? It's in a different league to TV and cinema. That's where the real pros are at, right? Maybe if you counted people like Justin Bieber, someone who had their roots on YouTube or on the internet and evolved into the mainstream media, then maybe. But him and people like him are the exception, aren't they? And even then, people still brand them as being part of the YouTube generation, right? What do you think? I've just finished getting up to date on a fantastic web series called Video Game High School, created by Matthew Arnold et al. And Freddie Wong, and it's pretty fun. Sometimes the writing is really over the top and ridiculous, particularly in the first season, but I think that might have been an intentional thing considering what it is and its targeted audience. Why I think it's fantastic though is the production and the acting are superb. There's still a certain YouTube quality to the series, but at many points you just think, wow, this is pretty much exactly what it would be like on TV. I could literally be watching a series on television. And it's great, internet media is really ramping up in terms of quality, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Maybe you've watched the series as well, and I'd love to know what you think, but doesn't it just make the whole internet is inferior to mainstream argument just seem like a complete pile of steaming dumplings? Or doo-doo. Dumplings are delicious. This whole argument is based on antiquated attitudes from probably about 10 years ago, and doesn't really hold much water in the breakneck world that we live in today. It's rubbish, and I'm gonna tell you why. First, let me ask you a question. What makes media and entertainment great to you? What makes you love a show, a film, a song? Why do you love what you do? Is it the medium on which it's presented? The credentials of the production company or the artists? The popularity of the franchise or the cast? It's probably none of these things. It's simply because you love the experience. It does it for you emotionally or intellectually. You watch the things you do, read the things you do, listen to the music that you do, because it's great art, it's entertaining, or it has a great message in it, right? Agree so far? If you do, let's move on to some arguments. One argument is that mainstream media has far greater financial backing and resources. They have the money, they have the locales, they have the support, and they have the connections. Mainstream media holds the power. To a sizable degree, that's true. Mainstream media has the clout, which is why it still totes that name today, mainstream. The production values are much higher. This can be seen not only in spectator and audience media, but also the traditionally subverted, but now massively popular industry of gaming, something close to my very own heart. You see these big blockbuster AAA games like your GTAs, your Uncharted, your Assassin's Creeds, etc, etc. And usually these games are dazzling, they look amazing and they sound amazing. Just like their Hollywood counterparts, there is one clear message, and that is, we are the big boys. Can't touch this. So a lot of bravado in mainstream media. However, going back to the first point, what do you think makes a truly great movie or a truly great game? Is it through the roof production values, a really coveted cast or production team? Think of the last time you were wowed playing a Call of Duty game, or the last time you watched a superhero movie that really moved and excited you. Be really honest with yourself. I mean, yes, mainstream media is still in power, but how much longer will this power and influence differential last, I wonder? Argument number 2. Mainstream media is proven. It's been around much longer than internet media. We have great tokens of mainstream media that have accumulated over the years, something that the much newer internet medium simply doesn't have. Ergo, more experience equals more reliable quality. Again, I can see some validity in this. With mainstream media, you know exactly what you're getting. You know which talk shows are good, you know which dramas are good based on the popularities of the shows. It's all very natural. With the internet, you don't know. You have to dig, and you have to dig hard. You take risks. The price? Hours of boredom and wasted time. Argument number 3. Mainstream is more selective with the people involved, so the quality must be much better. Well, higher selectivity is great, but towards what? Well, it's based on mainstream appeal, so you get the creme de la creme in this area, which is a very safe, a very predictable, and a very general area. In general, mainstream is a lot more tightly packed. It has very strict guidelines, and there isn't really much room in terms of deviation and subsequently experimentation. So you could argue that the areas in which mainstream does well, it does really well. However, they have to work with a very viscous model, very sticky. As mentioned, they have very strict guidelines, and they have to tick many boxes to maintain their mainstream appeal. This means change comes slow, and this means it's really easy to just purely focus on the production side of things, the side that can be monitored and tweaked more easily. I actually watched an interview with Freddiew and BrandonJLa on What's Trending, where they talk about their series VHS, where they also touched on getting approached by Hollywood and things like that, but they stick with YouTube because of the greater degree of flexibility and also the absence of stifling bureaucracy between them and their audience. If you want your work to be faithful to your most authentic self, then as Freddie says, stick with the internet. Having said all of this, I'm in no way proclaiming that all mainstream media is bad or cliche, or that all internet media is innovative and forward-thinking. There are excellent examples of mainstream media, and there are equally bad examples of internet content. I'm looking at you, Harlem Shake phenomenon. It might seem like I've made up my mind already, but which one is better? Based on what I've said, are YouTube and other internet platforms going to one day put the final nail in the coffin for more traditional forms of media? Well, I've moaned a lot about the mainstream today, and I am a bit of a futurist, but what if we combine the two? Not treat them as two separate entities vying for a limited audience, but to take them and to get the best of both worlds. It's kind of happening already. As we've mentioned, great art and great entertainment is a quality of the art itself, not the medium on which it appears. There is no real difference between the stuff that appears on TV or radio and the stuff that appears on YouTube, for example. Whatever happens, happens, but as long as the creators and the other people involved don't forget that at the end of the day, it's about the content. And I do think that YouTube and other internet platforms are great for this. They allow for people lacking in resources, like myself, to spread their own message or to create their own art, which can oftentimes be extremely valuable to the world. Because at the end of the day, that's what media and art are all about, aren't they? Communication? All you media purists, bury the hatchet and tame the ego. The future is coming on, and it's an excellent time to ride the wave. As I wrap up, I realised I've sort of drifted from the original question of the video, but I always like to go deep anyway. I've kind of answered it in passing already anyway, but to reiterate, internet is getting pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. Argument number 2. Ooh, shit.